Okay, can everybody hear me okay? All right, great. Well, I have 6:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started on our January 11th Board of Education meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight. And to start, I'll say we're meeting via Zoom tonight due to a few reasons. We had some capacity limitations at City Hall, as well as some quarantine issues that we're dealing with. So, but as we move forward, we plan to have all meetings back in person as already scheduled. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get on to our first item tonight, which is our call to order roll call with our flag salute. Would you please stand? Okay, I pledge allegiance. Oh, sorry, let me wait for the flag to come up. Latona, do you have?
1 second, please.
All right. Okay, here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so next up on our agenda, we are going to move on to appoint a new Board of Education president that will serve between now and the next January. And unless anyone else has any reasons why they would want to deviate, I think I can make a motion that will continue with our current way we've been operating. So with that said, I would move that we just go ahead and appoint Andy as our new board president.
I second.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Unless there's any more comments or questions, I'll take a vote. All those in favor? Okay, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so motion passes 6-1. And Andy, you're taking over from there. There you go.
All right. Hi, everybody. So the first job that I have is to appoint, I don't have the job, the board does, a vice president for the board for the same term that I will be filling from this January through our first meeting in January 2022. So at this time, want to see
I'd move Robin as a vice president.
I second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to have Robin serve as vice president. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of Robin serving as vice president for this next year, please raise your hand. Okay. Looks like that's everybody. That was easy. Congrats, Robin. And thanks everybody for your feedback. Next item on the agenda is actually the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Matthew motion, Tina seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Looks like that's unanimous as well. Next item is routine action. This is approval of our minutes from December 14th. So at this point, would take a motion to approve the minutes as presented for December 14th meeting.
So moved.
Okay. we have a second?
Second.
Is that Tina?
Pam.
Oh, Pam, sorry. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, unanimous. All right, next up is our citizens and community presentations before the board. And the first item is DNEA and Joel Addis.
Good evening. Joel Addis, special education teacher at El Paso Elementary and president of DNEA. And I really just wanted to share some information with the board about the MOU amendment that was in the packet and will come before you later this evening, and just kind of the voting process that we went through for that. That started, I met with Mrs. Mader and Mr. Regier on December 17th, and we just kind of had a general discussion about the FFCRA provisions and possible changes to the MOU. And then Mrs. Mader and I met again on the 30th of December. And at that point, we went through and developed the language in the proposed MOU amendment. At that point, it was sent to the DNEA executive board and then sent out to the bargaining unit on January 3rd. The voting window for that was 48 hours from January 4th to January 6th. And I actually have a visual. Let me see if I can share it. Yep. So you guys can see. You can see it was a pretty overwhelming vote yes, 358 responses, 353 yeses, and 5 nos. And I will say that one of those people who voted no emailed me afterwards and apologized and said they accidentally hit the wrong button. And I just told them that that was okay. I was pretty sure it was still going to pass. So just really in closing, I'd like to share that DNEA hopes that the board will go ahead and vote to approve this amendment to the MOU, which will extend those provisions in the FFCRA. We truly believe that it's a strong example of the district wanting to ensure that people feel taken care of. So thank you, and I would stand as it were for any questions.
Thanks, Joel. Any questions for Joel? All right, thanks for your presentation, Joel.
Thank you.
Next up is our patrons under this section, and we don't have any signed up prior to the meeting, so it doesn't look like we have any for tonight. So items 6A through D, A through C, we'll try this again. Our consent agenda is next. So it looks like included in that is donation to Derby Public Schools from Jeff Davis, donation to DMS Robotics Club from various donors, certified and classified personnel reports, and claims. At this point, I'd take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Move to approve.
Or second.
Okay, who's the first?
Tina.
Tina, thank you. Matthew, second. All those in favor? All right, unanimous, thank you. All right, next up is our reports. And at this point in time, it looks like gating committee with Ms. Bohati is next.
Thank you. Good evening, Heather Bohati, Superintendent. We have the Board of Education agenda, the standing report of gating committee update. And as I think everyone on this screen is aware, we have moved as the December 30th gating committee meeting. We had moved elementary, middle school, and high school based on the data, all back in person. So we are operating under the yellow on our gating criteria chart, and based on the information then voted for in person. The other updates were with a safety, security, logistics plan. We had from previous made some adjustments on that chart, specifically under the temperature check, visitors, and transportation area, all moving to the moderate level. So I'll stand for any questions. A little shorter report tonight.
Any questions for Heather?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Next up is item 7B, finance report from John Regier.
Good evening, John Regier, Director of Finance. In your packet, there's a small finance report, just noting a couple enhancements from each of the sub-departments in the finance department of what we've been working on during the fiscal year. We did try to leave COVID out of as much as possible, just showing where we're going this year. So as you noted, we did get our financial audit done at the December 14th meeting. The next report that I'll be speaking on is the response to any of the points that were on there. Again, very excited with the partnership with Swindle, Jansen, Hawk, and Lloyd, and was appreciative of their work this year, as well as the team did an outstanding job of getting everything to them in a timely manner so that we can get the audit to you guys in a more timely manner as part of some of our goals that we had set last year. Moving to the payroll and benefits team, as brought before the board, we did change insurance providers as of January 1. A huge undertaking for our staff to get that done, as well as to get information out to the teams to make sure that all of that has been communicated. So that was a big change for this year, as well as changing our flex providers, as well as changing our plan years. That was another piece that we thought was needed, as well as to take care of our staff going forward there. From the purchasing side, we did get all of our credit cards issued to all of the buildings. That's been a little bit more of a slower rollout due to going into continuous learning last spring, as in kind of going in and out this year. But it has been very nice for staff in the buildings. If they needed something real quick, they can check out the credit card and go and get it as they needed. Finally, from the budget finance side, we had an influx of new building leadership this year. So we have been doing a better job of, more proactive job of getting out and doing more training, making sure that they understand their building budgets, what they can and cannot spend it on, as well as simplifying those reports. We had noted in the past that there had been multiple reports to get to your total building budget. We've condensed those down so that they're all in one singular report that the staff can run on a timely basis. With that, I will stand for any questions for the finance report.
Any questions for John? Okay, I do not see any, John. It looks like you're up for the response to the audit findings next.
Perfect. So again, John Regier, Director of Finance. So at the December 14th board meeting, Christina Henson, Senior Manager at Swindle, Jansen, Hawk, and Lloyd, went over our audit report. High level, went over, if needed to go any farther detail, I'd be happy to go through that. But we did have one final point that's on there, as for many of the board members that have been on have seen it on there for multiple years. That is our capital assets. What's different about it this year is that it's been labeled as a prior period adjustment, which is basically the final time that it should be on the audit report, as it is noted. They noted that we have met all of the criteria to make sure it falls off next year. That doesn't mean that the work is now over. There is a lot of work to continue to be done with that. There is some additional cleanup, tagging of assets, but they feel at this point in time that it is ready to fall off. And again, shout out to the team on all the work that they did to get that done. That was a large undertaking in a short amount of time, and we were able to get that done. As noted, that was something that they had seen Swindle, Jansen, Hawk, and Lloyd had seen done in a 5 to 6 year time frame, and we've done it in about 3. So a lot of work was done, a lot of time to get some training in, and just being able to be proactive and push forward with that. Inside there, for board members that haven't seen it, kind of a timeline of what we've done since I've been here in the district, starting in June of 2018, just up until today, as well as what we're doing going forward. So that will maybe be the last time that you guys see that, as this should hopefully be off next year. So moving to the third page on the report, the 2 items that were on our report last year that did fall off due to it all being cleaned up was our outstanding checks. The auditors did notice that we are not in compliance with Kansas statutes, noting that outstanding checks have to be either reissued or sent to the Unclaimed Property Act. That is 2 years for vendor checks and 1 year for payroll checks. That has been cleaned up, and you noted it was not on the audit report. So once that was noted, the team did jump right into it, and we now have a process in place to be sending the unclaimed property twice a year. Now we do it at the end of the calendar year, and then towards the end of the fiscal year, as we note, checks are getting close to that time frame. The last one was a point from the single audit last year when it comes to food service verification. The auditors did do a follow-up inspection and noted that all of the food service applications were properly verified and they were in the correct status at the time that they did that. So that is big shout out to the operations team and food service of getting that corrected in a very timely manner. So that one, we give credit where credit is due there to Martha's team there. So with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions, any comments, anything you'd like to see in the future when it comes to our audit from there.
Andy, I got a comment.
Go ahead, Matthew.
So John, congratulations on hopefully getting rid of that item. That's appreciated. I think it's been there on every year that I've been on the board almost. So one question on the checks, the unclaimed checks, do we have if you're sending them to unclaimed property, do our checks have a time limit from when they're dated that would cause problems there, or does the state take care of that, or how does that work? Do we just send them the cash and then they put in that person's name? It just question.
So yeah, so the Kansas Unclaimed Property Act is we don't send them the check, the physical check. We actually sent them one check with a ledger of who it all goes to and any information that we can provide to them. Then that goes in to their system. They cash the check and then put it to the accounts of whoever that is. So it's not a timing thing for us. It's
no, that's all right. Just the way you said it, I was like, man, that might be a problem. So okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tina, I saw your hand. Go ahead.
I was just going to echo what Matthew said. I think that capital assets has been on there since I came on the board. So thank you for all your hard work and getting that to come to fruition, to come off. So that's kind of nice. So I do appreciate that. And I just want to say again, I think it's nice that we went our audit with fresh eyes and went with someone else to kind of look at that. Because like I said, that capital asset's been on there for a long time and we never really knew what to do to get rid of it. So I think they were very helpful in helping us try to understand what we needed to do to fix it. So thank you to them, and thank you for you and your department for all your hard work.
And agreed, the team jumped in and really did everything they could to get this done, as well as the auditors did give us great guidance. As soon as we brought them on board, they were able to give us some good cues, as well as we're able to work with them throughout the year. I can send them information, say, hey, this is where I'm at, and they can help us move forward to make sure we're going in the right direction. So big props to both the team and the auditors.
Go ahead, Rowan.
Yeah, I'll echo what everybody's been saying, and really impressed with your team and what they've done, and also just the proactive way that you're tagging things and getting them into Skyward, and that there's a plan for the future. I just think that's great. So kudos to all of you.
Appreciate that. We'll be sure to pass that on to the team tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, John. I'll echo what everybody else has said. And I've been the one that's kind of probably pushed as much as anybody on this. So appreciate all your work and getting to the point where we've got a pretty clean bill of health as far as financial reporting and all the processes you have in place. So congrats.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we've got Derby Works and Becky Mader.
All right. Thank you, Becky Mader, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. I am excited for this opportunity this evening to share with you some information about Derby Works. It is an initiative launched by Strategy 3. So first of all, I want to thank the Strategy 3 committee, including our board member representative, Ms. Doyle. Thank you for serving on this committee. We have a really strong, wonderful team, and we're making some really cool things happen. So again, I'm excited to share this with you. Our Strategy 3 goal is to help attract, retain, and develop our team of staff who support our educational community. So that's kind of the overarching theme here. Our year 4 results specifically are to develop a local program for identifying potential employees to fill positions throughout the district. So why Derby Works? this is how this all came to be. So we thought the Derby Works slogan would be a recognizable, easy for social media, hashtags, marketing, and that sort of thing. And we would be able to easily tie it in with as an employment slogan with our existing Derby schools hashtags and community branding. So we have the hashtag Derby Proud, hashtag Green is Magic, hashtag Be the Y. And so we are kind of trying to streamline in there with hashtag Derby Works. We could use that language, one phrase, to summarize all the positive out of the box recruiting ideas and things that we have, hoping that that will catch on. And it was kind of a catchy phrase when we were meeting as a committee. You could use it in different ways, like for whatever employee group we were targeting, Derby Works, or Derby Works for this type of employee, or that sort of thing. So we thought we could do a lot with that particular phrase. So what we have done so far, the Strategy 3 team has worked to define the position groups that we want to target. We've identified some partnership opportunities, and we've brainstormed ideas on how to reach those target audiences. So we came up with 5 groups to start with, and I want to show you the website here in just a second, but it's going to outline substitute teachers, operations, specifically food service, transportation, custodians, and also teachers, then classified staff. And then we had a real need for some Latchkey. We were really running short with Latchkey support. So we added that in as one of our ideas. So I'm going to share my screen with you here real quick and show you our Derby Works website. All right, so everybody can see that okay? Okay. So where I was telling you, we have still a link here to apply for jobs that goes right to our AppleTrack application system where people can submit those applications. But then also we have a link to some testimonials I'll show you here in a minute as well. So we have really collaborated with Strategy 1, which is the communications team, regarding the graphics and the websites and the social media posts, which I'll show you some examples of that as well. We've also been collaborating with Strategy 2 regarding teaching pathways and reaching our students. So we're really looking at a lot of different ways to target groups. But down here, you'll see we have our substitutes. And we have some information about substitute teaching, as well as a quote from one of our regular substitutes, Beth Ann Ladwig. And she's featured in one of our graphics that I'll show you here in a minute as well. And then more details on becoming a substitute. And it offers information on pay and that sort of thing there. If we click over to the paraprofessionals tab, there's a little blurb there. And then they can also click and get more information on salary and benefits. Our operations group, we chose right now to target bus driving and food service because those were the 2 areas where we were really looking to recruit. And we can always change this up, and we're trying to stay in tune with the needs throughout the district so that we can make changes and target those groups where we have open positions and we're seeking applicants for those. We have our teacher tab, and our teacher subgroup on Strategy 3 is working really hard to find out how we showcase Derby and become kind of that diamond in the area. We have lots of other suburban districts around here, and we really want to set ourselves apart and showcase not only our schools, but our community. So we have that tab here, learn more about your community, and then also our salary and benefits. And then, like I said, we added this Latchkey tab over here because we were specifically looking to fill some Latchkey positions that we were looking for more applicants for those. So that is a look at that first page. Up here, we have scrolling through different things, like we're looking for teachers who come from the TAP program. And that's one way that we can hire internally. We have paras working in our district who are working on their education degrees, working to become teachers. And we can hire them on the TAP license and get them going in our classrooms. And then what's flashing up there right now is one of our targeted appreciation gift ideas, and that is to recognize our substitute teachers. And we had the slogan, "There's no substitute for the way you support our students in our schools." So we do the drawings weekly for those $25 Subway gift cards. And then we have, I will talk again in a minute about some of those targeted appreciation gifts. But if we click over to testimonials, this was something that I wanted to show you as well. Okay, so the testimonials, we have, this is one of our substitute teachers, and he is one of our floating subs for Derby North, but he does have other places where he is attending to fill those substitute positions when we need, but he has done an exceptional job with that. And then we will scroll through here. This is one of our paraprofessionals, and she had written a quote here with what she really enjoys about her job and reaching students. And then this is Missy Noose. She is a lunchroom para at Park Hill Elementary, well known for playing music and making the lunchroom a really fun place to be. She was out doing remote lunches when that picture was snapped. And then we also did a Latchkey, I'll go back to that one, Latchkey Testimonial. We specifically used this one to target out on social media when we were looking for Latchkey applicants. So that was just a little example of that. We're working on more testimonials. We're working on another one yet today with the communications team and working to get something out at the request of one of our building principals. So we will keep working on that. And then also wanted to show you a few more examples here, and I will just, can you guys see the presentation that has I can't see my box anymore that shows what's showing. Okay, perfect. So I wanted to show you a few of the graphics that the communications team has worked on for us. This is for substitute appreciation. We talked about the targeted appreciation gifts. So one of our gift card promotions, trying to recognize staff and showcase their strengths. They've been really popular on social media so far, lots of likes and shares and positive comments. On these, we also collaborated with the Wellness Committee and with DNEA. So lots of collaboration across the district. And that's one of the things that I enjoy most about this, because really it's everybody coming together for a common goal. So this next one is staff appreciation. And this one kind of has the slogan going along with it with our staff on target. So anyone, community members, parents, board members, anybody who would like to nominate someone that they see doing something outstanding can nominate them for our staff on target drawings. And we draw two names from that as well each week, and send them a $25 Target gift card and post that out on social media, thanking them for helping to keep us on target towards reaching our goals. So again, those have been really popular on social media, and our staff has been really appreciative. And I think it's really uplifting to read the nominations that come in as well. And we've had a really good response, a lot of nominations, and would love to see those keep on coming. This was one that I had showed you earlier with Missy Noose, and this had come from her principal, had a quote, and we used this one. We posted this out with the job posting for an opening for a vacancy for the actual job, and the words, I'll go to the next one because that has it. So we were posting about a job for clerical, and so looking at come work with people like Missy, and that sort of thing. So trying to use those as ways to showcase those jobs that are open. We had an opening for a head secretary at Swaney Elementary. And so this was one of the postings that we did with that hashtag Derby Works. And then here's the substitute ad. That's Bethann Ladwig that I had mentioned before. And she was talking about how she really enjoys the flexible hours that align with her kids' schedule. She kind of had to step out of her box, but it's been fun seeing her kids at school. So we're hoping that that speaks to people who also may enjoy that type of opportunity. And then another example of two of our staff on target winners over here. And just really awesome things. Mr. Tarwater, who's featured there, was nominated 3 times. So he had a good chance of winning. But again, we do have lots of applicants or lots of nominations coming in for those. Again, we just have had a lot of collaboration. And when we do the strategy updates here in a minute, I'll talk a little bit about how we're trying to reach our students and engage them with the pathways. But again, strategy 1, strategy 2, and the wellness, DNEA, all of those coming together. So I would just like to thank everyone for their work on it. And thank you for listening to me talk about it. It's something that I really enjoy, and I feel like it's taking off. So I appreciate you allowing me to share with you tonight. Any questions?
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Becky. Any questions or comments for Becky? Robin, go ahead. I think you're muted still, Robin.
Sorry about that. I just really appreciate you sharing that with us, Becky. And I've seen it on Facebook, in social media. I've seen the Derby Works come through, and I think it's it's catchy, it's easy to remember, and it's to the point. You know, Derby works. You just know it automatically. Has something to do with that. And I just love the Subway and Target gift cards too. I think that's really great. I think that's a really good way to help motivate your staff. And I just think it's a great idea. So I love the way you're working together with Strategy One as well. So that, and other groups as well. So that interdepartmental thing, that works really well. More heads together.
Absolutely. Katie's been a huge help, and she's had a lot of, ideas, like we're almost there, and then when we put our heads together, we think of it, and then it happens. So I definitely appreciate their help with that.
All right.
Okay.
Anybody else? I think we got everybody. All right. Yeah, no, I also like the look and feel, and I think testimonials are awesome and a great way for people to connect with people. So I really like the look of it too. It's a great job.
Thank you.
So next up is item 7E, STEM Camp Grant Overview, Dr. Holly Putnam Jackson.
Good evening, Dr. Holly Putnam Jackson, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum. We're excited to share with you tonight about a 3-year award for about $230,000 that we received from our Department of Defense grantee as part of our MCAS grant. This program is geared towards a STEM camp where we will work to provide students with a STEM experience, especially for our military connected families, but for all Derby students. Tonight we have Mrs. Clara Von Matthews, our instructional coordinator for STEM, and Ron Rothy, our MCAS grant coordinator, to discuss more and give you more details about the grant.
All right, well, we are really excited to be here this evening to talk about this program. We have been looking forward to the fruition of this STEM camp as soon as we heard about it, and Ron's going to talk a little bit about the history of this, but just to kind of give you a little background, if Ron, you want to go ahead, there we go. We want to share why we're so excited. And one of the reasons we're so excited is we really love in Derby that we have lots of opportunities for our students, but some of our students won't take us up on the opportunities we provide. So we like giving them some varying things that they can do them in a little bit more relaxed manner. And this is a summer camp where they can try out some STEM activities and see themselves as a scientist or as someone who might be interested in a career that is a little bit different path than maybe they see themselves on initially. And there's a lot of research that shows that if we can do that early, that we're more likely to get those kiddos on board. And this particular slide is from a STEM girls camp, and our camp that we're looking at doing won't be directed directly at girls. It's going to be all students will be able to apply for the camp, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through here. Ron, are you good, or do you need me to share? I think Ron might be having trouble with volume, being able to hear. If you want to close that window, Ron, I'll try to fill in for you here. Close your settings.
Hey, there I am. Finally, sorry about that. I could not find the unmute button for anything. So on this screen, it talks about kind of the elements of how STEM Camp came about. And my name is Ron Rothy, and I'm the, as Holly mentioned, I'm the MCAS grant coordinator for the district. for our 2 military connected student grants. And it's because of those grants that we found out about this particular opportunity. We have some good peer relationships with some of the other districts around the country that have similar grants. And one of those in Muscoda, Illinois, the external evaluator for that particular grant found out about another DODEA grant that he could submit for. And he had a couple of daughters that had gone to the STEM girls camps for a number of years. And he wanted to try to marry those together. He wanted to bring the STEM girls concept, which was primarily around the Chicago area, and expand it into districts that have military connected grants. So if you see on this map here, there are 10 different school districts that have.
Ron, we're still seeing the window.
He's got it.
Did you get that? Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that.
You're fine.
So here are the 10 school districts across the country that are part of the initial wave of this STEM camp. The intent is that this is a 3-year grant, and every year they're going to add 10 more schools that have military connected grants. So you can see there's 3 on the East Coast and 5 down the center of the country, 1 in the Pacific Northwest, and then 1 in Alaska. Derby is kind of in the middle as far as size wise of all these school districts. There's 4 or 5 that are quite a bit smaller than ours, and then there's 2 or 3 that are more than double the size of ours. But it's going to be, we're getting in on the ground floor of this particular opportunity, and we're going to have this particular camp for 3 years.
So as Ron stated, this is going to be the first summer. We're bringing this in July. We're waiting till we get a little bit closer to get a more firm date for our time. So we are hoping that we can have it in person as much as possible. And as he said, we are the one of the first 10 groups. We hope to serve between 125 and 175 students. So we have a big chore to get everyone to sign up. So we're going to get our publications out as soon as we can get a little bit more information to really pump up our students and get them excited about coming. As we mentioned, it is a military connected grant, but it is open to all of our students. The military students will have a little bit of priority for the registration to really encourage them to apply. And this will be for our rising 3rd through 8th grade students. And again, as we already mentioned, this will be for 2 additional years after this, part of the $2.7 million grant for all 10 districts. And our award is about $230,000. It will be a hands-on camp. So the first 3 days are really, we jump right in and do a lot of hands-on activities. The content, as we're going to talk about, comes directly through the grantees. And we then will have a field trip that will be related to the theme, which we are excited to hear. And we're hoping we were going to hear that before this meeting, but they're saying, I think we're going to hear in early February what the theme is going to be. But we've given you, shown you there the themes from the previous years. And then the last day of the camp is a time for a parent showcase. As I mentioned, we're going to be getting a lot of amazing things from this grant. It's really a no-brainer for us as a district. We're collaborating with some really great people, and they're going to help us pay for stipends for our teachers, assistants, which can be our high school students or recent graduates that can help with this, facilities fees, all the administrative support we need to be able to transport our students, not only on a field trip itself, but to actually be able to bring the students to where the location is where we have the camp, which was something that we actually encouraged them to write into the grant initially in our initial communications. And then as well as meals and things like that. So we are really going to get everything we need from the grant to get this camp going. They're also going to provide us with the materials. They're a great group in this iBio group to help us create the curriculum and then the materials. So they're going to actually send us sets of materials ready to go that we will just sort out based on the grade levels and things like that. They're going to also provide us with money that we actually get to use with our local providers here. We have some great businesses in our community that help with t-shirts and printing. And so we'll actually be able to infuse a little bit of that into the local community as well. And then if if the training is able to be done in person, they will actually provide the travel expenses for that teacher. If not, they are already ready to do remote training to be prepared for that. Then again, the main part of this grant is to hopefully make it sustainable. So it's going to help us really firm up some connections that we have started to make in our community and with our state's bioscience organizations to really get a really solid network for resources for our district. And then where we can actually, interact both directions with our students going out to those organizations as well. Then also working with local businesses. So we've had a great start, and I know our Cte Pathways have worked really to make those connections with businesses in our community, but they're going to help us to make those even stronger and have business members come in as part of the camp and things like that, so that we can really get our students to see themselves fulfilling careers in our area. And again, we want to hopefully have funding that's going to extend past this grant by, bringing in all these partnerships. So we're really excited about the opportunities.
Here's a quick look at the timeline. We did have a press release that we produced Friday that went out that talked about a little bit more detail on the camp itself. We're going to be working with the grant providers, Goshen Education and then BioKansas, to help us identify local business partners and start working with them. We'll find out what the theme is in February, and also that's when the priority registration opens for the military connected students. In March is when general registration opens. And the last thing I want to point out is we will have about 30 days before the camp starts to make the decision on whether we're going to be in person or virtual, because that depends on what kind of materials they send and how they send them. So, and obviously it also depends on what we need as far as support staff. We'll need less support staff if we go virtual than we will have in person. And with that, we will stand for questions.
All right, thank you both. Matthew, you've got a question?
Yeah, so seeing how it's STEM, if you'd send me an email and ask about possible funding, trying to look for some funding, not this year because we're already done with our budget for SPIA, labor union out at Spirit Aerosystems, the engineers. That doesn't mean that I couldn't try to work something in for next year. And then send me a separate email asking about possible contacts out at Spirit Aerosystems, since you're looking for community support. If you'll do both of those, I'd appreciate it. Send it to my work email. And then I'm actually judging a STEM competition here. That's not STEM, it's a senior project competition on Friday. I think it's with Mays now. I used to do it for West High School. I noticed you mentioned asking for stipends trying to get stipends for teachers, but I think you've got a lot of community members that would probably volunteer their time as well. You might get with Katie and try to get some of us old engineers involved. So anyway, I'd be more than happy to help with any of that at all. So.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, the emphasis has been primarily in biosciences area for the first 5 years that they've had the STEM girls. We're kind of hoping, because of our our background and so on in this particular area of the country, that as we come into the fold, that we can add that to their repertoire, that we can provide some resources from the aerospace side of it.
And that was my point. So yeah, great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Robin, go ahead. And you are muted, Robin.
Bad.
There
Okay,
you go.
so I can hear the excitement in both of your voices as you're talking about it. And I know we've been looking forward to this grant for a while. I know that that's been in the works. So I'm really excited for you guys and for all of us that we've got that. And I just love that connection with the Department of Defense. And I know we've got that relationship with them. And I'm just really excited to see where this goes. And I'm excited to hear what this theme is going to be this year. So be sure to share it with us when you find out. Good job, though.
All right. Tina, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that this is very exciting, and I appreciate that we have people who see these grants out there and are willing to write for them. I know writing is not always an easy task for some of these grants, so I appreciate that you guys are willing to go after this money to help out and to help our students, and especially in these STEM areas. And anytime we can get more kids involved and more particularly females involved in some of these areas, the better we are, I think. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tina. Anybody else? All right. No, I think this sounds like a neat program. I like the long-term sustainability part of it, that they encourage, to try to make connections. So after that 3-year period, it's kind of in place. So it sounds like a neat program. Thank you both for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is item 7F, which is the strategic plan summary report from Heather Bohatti.
Heather Bohatti, Superintendent. Excited tonight to share progress with you regarding our strategic plan and board goals. Even despite COVID and everything going on, which there's a lot that all departments have been involved with changes and supports that are needed, but strong emphasis has been placed on our strategic plan, board goals, and continuing to move us forward in each of the areas. So tonight, each chair will be reporting out. We'll have a time at the end if you have questions about any of the strategies or progress that's been made that you can ask each individual. And we are going to be starting out first with our strategy 1, which is communications, with Cte Carlson.
Hello, Cte Carlson, Director of Communications. I first, before giving a few highlights from the report that you guys received, just wanted to echo some of Becky's sentiments on the collaboration. I have really enjoyed seeing that, and that was one of the things I was going to mention, not just with that Derby Works, but I feel like all of our chairs have really started to overlap, a bit more in the different initiatives that we're doing, and a lot more collaboration amongst each other is occurring. One of the things that all of our strategic plan chairs did last month was actually participate in one of the Kansas Leadership Center's Beat the Virus conversations. And we went into that conversation with, our strategic plan is our roadmap for the district. And so how can we do that and have, help with this conversation that surrounds COVID? So that was something really fun that we were able to all collaborate on together. And then we actually received one of the grants for that, a $3,000 grant that Abby McCarthy and Luann Sparks have been kind of spearheading with doing these like hygiene and different, kits and with the different materials that families in need may be able to receive, to help with the stop of spread and prevention and all of that. So that was an exciting bit of collaboration as well. So just wanted to echo that sentiment there. But in regards to our specific results, the first one that's in communications is increasing the focus on diversity and inclusive communication. As we shared previously, Kelly Kitterman has been a huge help, in this area and is helping lead that. She has had grade level meetings this year where she has helped train and encourage our staff on different translation tools like Proprio and Talking Points. Our translation subcommittee also convened once already this year and discussed, back and forth by email, and then we'll be meeting again here later this month, but have worked on different key phrases and things like that we can have translated to have on more common documents that would help families kind of find what they need and get the information there. We also are exploring different tools within Zoom to use closed captioning and what that would entail to turn on, for our district. Kelly Kitterman also, and Liz Luera, who's on the committee, also led another one of the parent training sessions in December when we were in remote learning, and that session was both in English and Spanish. So I think those opportunities are continuing there as well. And then another area that we have been kind of rolling out consistently at the district level is using our auto translation in all of our Skylert messages that go out. And we've been doing that consistently for about a month now. And then the next step in that, before we have all of our schools start using that auto feature, is getting each of those messages translated. That way we know for sure the accuracy of them. We've been in the past a little hesitant on using the auto translations, but if they are accurate, and we want to make sure that we are going to get all of our schools trained on that feature. That way families are receiving the information in their desired language. So a lot going on in that area. We have also the result continuing building the culture of communication across the district. One of the goals set forth on the committee was to create a school news liaison network. We have, I think because of the COVID year, we had kind of started that with our strategy 1 group first, and then went quickly not too long after that into remote learning. So that's something that I want to get really diving back in on and getting ideas through that. That way we can then expand that further. In the area of internal communication and principal support, which is one of the items listed on there, we have developed email templates, and you guys have an example of what one of those look like on there. If you see that, you guys may have noticed that on some of our Skylert messages that have gone out, but it has that Derby Public Schools banner and then has a nice footer on the bottom. We use that for every one of our district messages now. And then we also created it for each one of our principals to use if they wish to do so. I know my kids go to Park Hill Elementary, and Miss Pontius does a great job using it consistently. It not only looks really nice in my opinion and very professional, but it also helps those families that have kids in multiple schools know quickly and then to be able to identify which school that message is coming from that day. So I think that that is something that's looks really nice that we were able to create for them and support in that area. In the area of multimedia, as you guys know, we were able to get a stipend, for a person in that area to expand some of the efforts that we're doing in video. And we have an idea as a committee to do a video series highlighting our staff. And this is similar to what Strategy 3 is working on, and there will be some overlap with that, kind of helping with some testimonial videos that they want to get to at one point, in addition to the graphics that they're doing. But ours, we really want to go a little bit further and tell the unique stories of our staff. And we think that that will really be able to highlight our staff in a really neat way, and because we feel that their diverse experiences are what lends itself to supporting our students and when they're bringing their talents into everything that they do. And we just have some really amazing staff that have unique stories, incredible talents. Everywhere from staff that are professional bowlers that don't just teach in the classroom but also live it in everyday life. We have people that have grown up in other countries and have other educational experience too. So we really want to share more about our staff. So I'm excited for that area, and we're hoping to get that going and off the ground here soon. Lastly, I wanted to mention in the area of safety communication, Matt's always busy in that area and doing a lot. But one of the most recent changes that I wanted to make sure that you all knew, it was just briefly mentioned in this report, and then we'll have more detail next time. But with the SRP lockout, the term lockout was changed to secure. And that was simply, it means the same thing, but it's to avoid confusion with lockout and lockdown. And that one's a really important item. I wanted to mention that one now because we were going to wait till the summer to roll it out, but it was something that Matt wanted to start working on now because there was staff over the remote period, that not when we weren't in person, that we were finding things for them to do to ensure that they could still get their hours. So that was something that we were able to have a lot of staff help get those documents printed and updated in every one of our classrooms and schools already. So we are working on communicating that out to our schools, our staff, and our families, that that term is changing. So they will start hearing a different term, and then it'll really be implemented further with training for all new staff with the next school year. But with that, that's just a few of the brief highlights from the area, but I will stand or sit here for any questions.
Any questions for Katie? No, on strategy 1, Ms. Pernier also serves on that, so we appreciate board members and all the committee members and all the work that they've done on this. Appreciate your leadership, Katie. All right, strategy then 2 would be the next one, would be strengthening academic achievement, and that's with Holly.
Good evening. So for strategy 2, strengthening academic achievement, our goal is to strengthen outcomes for K through 12 students. We started off year 1 focusing on social, emotional, and early childhood. And with year 4, we've shifted through some of the other focus areas to work on our high school graduation rate. And as part of that, we have several action steps. The first one is to look at our Cte pathways and the completion rates for each one of those pathways as a manner or a catalyst to help us increase our graduation rate by getting students engaged and connecting the work that they're doing with the world of work. So part of the way we've done that is we've expanded or refined various Cte pathways. And so you'll see each one of those pathways that has either been enhanced, rewritten so that it is concurrent, meaning that they can receive some sort of post-secondary credit for it, or where we have added a new pathway or a credential where students are able to earn, for instance, that whole marketing pathway. They're able to earn accounting credentials and other things along those lines as they complete each one of those pathways. And so we've really done, hats off to Kelly Ketterman and our strategy 2 group or committee in making those recommendations, and then also working with groups of teachers that represent the courses in each one of those pathways, as well as their advisory groups, to get some of those recommendations of where it's advantageous to expand so that we're well-rounded and we're engaging all of our students as they're moving throughout our high school program. So this committee will work to continue to expand those pathways, and then also to strengthen the visibility of those pathways so that students know what is available, and when they have a career interest, what courses they can take so that they can learn more and have more experience in the areas that they have an interest in. Our second action step is to evaluate career explorations K-5 and to create a plan for expanding our career exploration activities at our K-5 or younger grade levels. We had this area identified previously, and then with our pandemic, we decided to kind of pause our curriculum writing timeline, which had the K-5 social studies curriculum rewrite as part of that. However, the fact that we are in a pandemic did not slow down this group at all, in the sense that they determined, well, part of the expanding of those pathways for K-5 and getting kids involved in career exploration involves getting them exposed to different people in the world of work, no matter what mode of learning they might be engaged in. And so this particular strategy committee decided, okay, we're going to partner with strategy 5, and we're going to create a survey that's geared to go out after we come back from break, so towards the end of this month, that will help us identify community members, parents, employers who have employees that they are looking for opportunities to have them volunteer or engage remotely, so that we can have students do virtual shadowing, have groups of kids who listen to speakers and get to ask them questions, all of those things so that they can experience work through an employee's eyes, and then have that information ready to go as we launch forward with our social studies rewrite during the next academic year. Our third action step involves the alternative high school class and courses. So also as part of our goal of improving our graduation rate is making sure that we have, again, the coursework and the programming in place to reach all of our students. No matter what their interests may be, and especially any student who presents with any risk factors. And so this group has listened and really gotten excited with the Panther Learning Center getting ready to open up soon and to do a soft start. So I won't talk too much here because I don't want to steal Luann's thunder, but we are very excited to see some of the WSU Tech partnerships and programs that you see referenced there come together. So this group is working carefully to provide guidance and feedback to help us strengthen our pathways, to make sure that we're reinforcing and engaging all of our students at both the secondary level and the K-5 level, and that we're bringing in our partnership from community members who are willing to help our students understand the world of work around them and become engaged. So with that, I will stand for any questions that you might have.
And any questions for Holly? And I know Ms. Folkert serves on that. Thank you for serving on this committee. Okay, not any questions for Holly. We will move on then to strategy number 3, which is personnel with Becky.
All right. Good evening again. Becky Mader, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Chair for the Strategy 3 Committee. Again, our goal is to attract and retain and develop our team of staff who support our educational community. Again, our year 4 results are to develop a local program for identifying the potential employees to fill positions throughout the district. The action steps that we worked on, we did have the website launched. We had the testimonials get started, and we are going to keep rolling with those. And as Katie mentioned, we are looking at some options for some video testimonials, starting with just these simple graphics, but then branching out a little bit and collaborating also with Strategy 2 again for some of those ideas. We also have those targeted appreciation gifts that we talked about earlier, and ways to showcase our staff with the Derby Works hashtag and all of that. Action step 4 is involving job description revisions. So you'll see me back here in a little bit under the discussion section of our board meeting, and with a goal to get at least one student involved in food service or custodial work. This has happened in the past at Derby High School, but this subcommittee continues to explore options to employ our currently enrolled students. We had some ideas to expand those opportunities, and the group wants to explore an option to employ students with an interest in a teaching pathway in instructional paraprofessional positions. Several job descriptions are being revised in an effort to make this possible. The way they're currently written, it's not possible for us to employ currently enrolled students. They are required to have a high school diploma. So we are looking at revising those job descriptions in order to open up this possibility to employ our teaching pathway students. So looking at what's coming up next for Strategy 3, we do have a meeting tomorrow afternoon, and we will be talking about those teaching pathways and ways to reach our students, ways to make connections, how to figure out which fit is going to be best for them, how to determine placements in the buildings, and how those that might work with their schedules. So we will be talking about all of those things. We're also going to be talking about some spring recruiting alternatives. Recruiting looks a little bit different this spring because most of the college job fairs are virtual. We explored some options last fall and the late summer with scheduled interviews to fill some of our classified staff positions. So that's one thing that we'll be discussing. It was highly effective with the fill rate and with the candidates that we were able to place into positions. And so we want to look at the effectiveness of a whole bunch of different recruiting options and see what might work best for Derby Public Schools. So we'll be discussing that tomorrow. And then also looking ahead to year 5 as a committee. And right now with focus on customer service, which ties into that developing our staff part of our overarching goal. So we'll be discussing all of those things tomorrow and continuing to move forward with action steps there. I will stand for any questions that you all might have about strategy 3.
Appreciate Ms. Doyle also serves on that committee. So thank you, Becky, and to the entire committee. All right, the next one, if not any questions, is strategy number 4. And this is infrastructure with Burke Jones.
Good evening. I'm Burke Jones. I'm the Director of Operations and the Chair of the Strategy 4 Committee. Our goal specifically this year was to develop a systematic and repeatable plan for replacement of identified major mechanical building systems. In some ways, I feel like I kind of gave you guys a deep dive on where we were with our goals a meeting or 2 ago when John and I were updating you on the kind of the capital outlay planning process. But I'll go through where we are today. The first action step was to review all the cataloged major medical building components by age and life expectancy. And I have retained basis engineering to go through all of our buildings and old building plans to look at the make, model, and age of all of our mechanical system, as well as give us a kind of life expectancy for that. When I gave my report last time, Mr. Joyce did bring to my attention that several years ago, as a part of another initiative, this work was done as well. And there's been a lot of changes since then, but we have been able to use some of that information to dovetail in to the information that we're getting from basis engineering. So it's really been really beneficial to know that. And I appreciate you letting me know about that report, Mr. Joyce. The second part, the action step, was we are surveying all the maintenance staff for mechanical concerns at each facility, as well as having them document items that they have a high frequency of repairs on. We are also looking at the last 3 years of work orders and seeing which systems across the district are historically high maintenance items. And then those will clearly float to the top of the list as we roll out that as kind of a 10-year capital plan. And we prioritize those systems that need to be replaced and given some attention sooner than others. So at the end, so in January, by the end of January, we're going to have all of this evaluation done, and then we'll be able to start compiling and looking at, over the next 10 years, what are the capital outlay needs for infrastructure, not only with mechanical systems, but also for flooring, roofing, and paving and parking surfaces across the district. So we're excited to see that come to fruition in early spring, and we will be bringing that back. I think we have a scheduled update on the capital plan in March. So that'll be kind of the first look at that. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
I think Mr. Joyce has a question.
I was waiting for Andy, but that's okay. Berg, just appreciate your efforts, and I know previous people that have been in your position have tried to accomplish what you're doing, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Hopefully you can drag it kicking and screaming across the finish line. So appreciate the effort.
Well, thank you, and we hope so.
Any other questions? I know Mr. Tillison serves on this committee, so appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, if not any other questions, thank you, Burke, for your work and all the committee work. And I would say infrastructure, I think for those that are watching, all the bond projects fall under there. There's been a lot accomplished this year and a lot to show for in strategy 4 throughout our district. Okay, with that, strategy 5 we have is community with Luann Sparks.
Good evening. Luann Sparks, Director of Alternative Learning and Co-Chair of Strategy 5 with Miss Abigail McCarthy and Miss Carla Schartz. Very excited to share our collaborative efforts that our committee is undertaking this year. Even in spite of all of our pivots and shifts, we have been quite active this year. Our overall goal is to explore and identify those potential partnerships between our community and the school district and really dig deeper into examining opportunities and knowledge base in our community so that we can be more integrative with all students, whether they're in kindergarten, middle school, or high school. As we have done this, we are definitely finally coming to the point, which is exciting, where we are able to really work with a lot of our other strategic plan committees because the work is coming together as a whole. As Dr. Putnam Jackson shared, we are working collaboratively on a survey, as well as reviewing and analyzing our previous rosters of school partnerships and digging into those. We are touching base and working out with a lot of our CTE partners and updating those records, and then also looking at how can we adapt and modify those to be more inclusive. Prior to our pandemic, pretty much our students would go out into the community, or our community would come into our school buildings. And this year has certainly taught us to think outside the box and realize there are a lot of different avenues that can still bring phenomenal real life application to our students. And it doesn't mean that it has to be the way that we've done it before. So as we continue to work, we are creating a database with all of the information that we are coming together, and we will be able to share that collectively with our Derby school staff for that integrated piece in the classroom. Ms. Carlson touched base about a grant opportunity that became available also in early December, and we got together with other strategic chairs as well as members of our district leadership team, and we came together with a brainstorming action process, and our team finalized on requesting additional grant funds. We are creating a family COVID care package along with student care kits. It came a result of a committee meeting, but basically it's very costly for our families to purchase PPE due to the limited availability of supplies and costs. And so the Derby Cares family package, we are putting together a family package that includes liquid hand soap, laundry detergent, disinfecting wipes, solution, a family size of hand sanitizer, cloth masks, as well, tissues. And then with communications, they are working together with Ms. Kitterman, and they are creating a bilingual reference card for COVID-19 safety precautions. The student hygiene kits are going to include shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrush, dental floss, a small hand sanitizer that they could put in their backpack. We've ordered some cloth masks that are pediatric sizes, as well as small tissue packets that they could put into their backpack. And each of the family packages will have a student kit for each student that is enrolled in Derby schools. So we will have one family kit, and then we will add those student hygiene kits in that. We were thrilled. It was a phenomenal quick turnaround, but we did receive notification that our $3,000 grant was approved. The materials have been ordered, and our kits are going to be assembled by our AmeriCorps members and district volunteers. And we are planning for a total of 80 family or household packages and 350 student hygiene kits. Our families are going to be referred to us from our building social workers, our Pando Initiative student support advocates as well as our counselors, and these will be dropped off via a porch drop off. So that was kind of one of those quick unplanned moments that we just jumped on it, and we are thrilled at the opportunity of really being able to reach out and give something back to our community.
Good. Thank you, Luann. Any questions for Luann? And I know Ms. Prunier also serves on strategy number 5.
Yes, she does.
All right, if not any questions, we appreciate all the progress, and thank you to each of our chairs and those that are serving on the committees to carry out our board goals and strategic plan. That concludes the report.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Heather. Next, we're going to move on to item 8A under discussion, which is the benefits partner request for proposal with John Regier.
Good evening again, John Regier, Director of Finance. Inside your packet, there is about a 22-page request for proposal for a benefits partner. So for those tuning in tonight and watching it, this is something that we'd like to look at just due to getting a fresh set of eyes. You know, we've had our struggles with insurance costs and just would like to look at everything under the sun when it comes to insurance, making sure we're taking care of our staff. So we've been with the same provider for quite some time, and we would like to put it out to market to see what other options are available and what kind of maybe new ideas, new thought processes that could become to us to help drive down that cost for insurance, or at least get under control to be sure we're setting up for ourselves for the future. Now, that doesn't mean that the current benefits partner can't still compete inside of this. That's always the point of this, to make sure that everything we are getting the best value, as well as getting the best service that we can get. So with that, I'm not going to go page by page through it, just because it is quite a few questions and quite a few sections there. But with that, I will stand for any questions.
Justin, go ahead.
Thanks. Thanks, John. With that, do we expect quite a bit of interest from other groups, or what are you thinking there?
So right now, in the last actually 2 weeks, I've been reached out to through 2 separate companies, just checking in to see if we had any thoughts about changing, if we had any questions. So I know of 2 larger companies that have reached out. I've been kind of keeping an eye on it. I have, since I've been here, you know, you get the cold calls every once in a while, but I do think we'll get quite a bit of interest. We are a larger group, having over 500 people enrolled, as well as being a large employer. So I do think we will get quite a bit of interest from the market at this point.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I do think this is, as we've been talking about for a while, really important. And it's probably a great first step to trying to get, you know, those packages straightened out for the way they need to be. Thanks.
Thank you.
Tina, go ahead.
John, I see in the information that we're looking at notification of finalists and possible presentation to be sometime towards the end of March. I'm assuming that it will also be part of the benefits committee, like they'll review some of this as well.
So yes, so the benefits committee was notified that this is, we talked about it as the benefits committee in the fall, and Mr. Joyce does serve on the committee. This could be coming. So they will get a chance to review all of the proposals that come in, and then they will be a part of the any sort of finalist presentations or Q&A sessions before it's brought back to the Board of Education. They feel that this is time to make this change as well. So this is not just coming from me, but coming from the benefits committee. So yes, they are included.
Okay, I hope that we do get a lot of response back from this, because I think it is something that we've talked about looking at for a while. And I think as we go forward, especially with insurance, it's something we need to really delve into and look at. So I am grateful for this coming forward, and I hope we do get a pretty good response from it.
Yeah. And the reason we're bringing it so early, because we did just start a new plan year, is to build that relationship with not only the benefits committee, but also our payroll and benefits team. Like I said, we've been with the same group for quite some time. So making sure we've got that relationship built. If any software that changes on our end, we want to get that out early and get any kinks out of the way. So when we do hit time for open enrollment in November, that we are hitting the ground running and there is no issues when it comes to serving our staff during that time.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for John? John, just as a follow-up to Tina's question, I think that's a good question as far as just the process goes. So it will go to the benefits committee, then they make a recommendation, or is there another committee as part of the focus group that's listed on here that then recommends to the board? How does that shake out?
So right now we have just the benefits committee and then our payroll and benefits staff, which 2 of the 3 are automatically are on the benefits committee. Be happy to take another couple board members if that's the interest of any board members. What we'll do is we'll get the RFPs opened. I will get all of the information compiled and scanned in, and then allow time for people to review. We'll have a couple meetings to discuss the options, and then pick our finalists and have the Q&A presentation time. So if that's something that the board is interested in and serving on, similar to what we did with the audit RFP, I'd be happy to have them inside of the focus group too, as we bring that recommendation back to the full Board of Education.
So currently, how many board members do we have involved? Mr. Joyce, are you on the benefits committee?
Yeah,
Is that right?
I'm the only one on there. Just
Okay.
because I've done benefit negotiations for years with Spirit, so I've always jumped on that one because I know it pretty well. So nobody else ever signs up. So.
I'd be happy to serve on that committee too. If you need it, if you would like to have another person on, I'd be happy to do that.
Ms. Volkers would be happy to include you in on anything.
Sure.
Okay. I think they can represent us well unless anybody else has an interest of being on that committee. But so it sounds like it's benefits and then also your staff basically, and then Robin would be a part of that, kind of that vetting. Okay. All right. Any other questions for John? All right. Well, I too I think it'd be interesting to see kind of what the results are of this, and it's definitely an important piece that we're looking at this year. So appreciate your work on that, John. Looks like next up is student records. You're still up, John.
Perfect. So during the 1920 fiscal year, Dr. Andy Cannings, the former Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, brought in front of the board the scanning of our student records. So in the past, we've always had just paper copies of our student records. Those are items we have to keep indefinitely. So if somebody needs a transcript, no matter what year it is, we do have to hold that so we can never destroy those. So what Dr. Cannings brought in front of the board was scanning of the items at the old administrative center at 120 East Washington. We did finish that during the 1920 school year, and right now I'm bringing back the scanning of the rest of the student records, which are currently being housed at the transportation building. Right now we are estimating the cost at $32,145. Underneath where we originally planned it to be is right around 42,000. So we are under budget for this at this point in time. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Matthew, go ahead.
So John, once the scanning's done, we can then destroy the paper records, correct?
We can. The first round of records have not been destroyed yet. We are making sure they've got all of them in the system. There was quite a few boxes, but yes, we can destroy them since we do still have the copy electronic.
No, fair enough. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have to keep them anymore. I thought that was the end goal. So
yes.
Is that something where we're going to set up a database and people can request them on their own, or we're not going to go quite that far?
We have not gone that far. We still have our student records assistant, Danny Patterson. She takes all the requests in and then issues them out in a timely basis.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, Tina, go ahead.
John, this is it, right? We don't have any other coming down, right?
This is it. This catches us all the way up back through early Derby High School timeframe.
And then going forward, is that a separate contract? Will that become then a yearly contract that we would have to approve?
So there's multiple ways of looking at it. We could either wait 2 or 3 years and house them and then have them done through this company, or we can scan them in ourselves. The reason that we do it outside is because it is, I believe, they're going to pick up 78 bankers boxes, which are quite large in size. So they go through all of that, but we can actually scan in the files ourselves as we go forward. So that is something we are still working out at this point in time. We just want to get everybody caught up to the most recent 2 years.
And I don't remember, refresh my memory if you don't know. Is that a separate contract that we approved for the destroying of the records, or is that with the same company?
That is, inside of this cost is the destroying portion of it. So they take on the paper records, and then once we give them the approval to do it, they then destroy them.
Okay, and the culpability lies with them at that point?
Yes.
I mean, once we hand the records over, are we done? Or do we still have liability?
We still have to have all the records, and that's why we haven't given them the okay yet. We're still working through all the ones that were scanned. But then as long as we have a copy of them, we have removed our liability.
Okay, and I understand we have to keep a copy of them, but I guess that was more towards, sorry, now I just lost the word again. Thought of it while you were talking, but now I lost it again. Private, that word, private.
Privacy.
Sorry, yes, thank you. I'm having a hard time getting it out tonight.
And they are secured. Right now, they do secure them with Iron Mountain, which I believe they have a warehouse in Wichita. So they're securely stored there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew, go ahead.
So why aren't current records being done electronically now? Why would we be making paper copies?
That I do not know. I'd have to get back with you on that, on how we do them inside of the buildings. A lot of them are already scanned into Skyward, but putting them into this system, as well as keeping paper files, is something I can work with the district or the secretaries on.
Well, yeah, I'd appreciate that, because I think that'd save us a ton of time and effort. Or figure out a way where we can take it from Skyward straight into this other system. I can't believe it'd be that tough. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but it seems like it would be fairly simple to do this as we go, instead of archiving them as paper records and then scanning them in. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. So anyway, appreciate it. And whatever you come up with, I'm sure it'll be a good deal. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other hands up. So John, we'll see both benefits partner requests for proposal and student records at our next meeting under action. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then finally, under discussion, we have item 8C, job descriptions. Becky Mader.
All right, thank you. Becky Mader, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. We do have 2 revised job descriptions that we are revising to ease the requirement of a high school diploma or GED equivalent for 2 specific positions. So those are job description 461, the lunchroom recess paraprofessional, and job description 502, the instructional support paraprofessional. So this initiative comes from our Strategy 3 committee as they explore possible options for the students to work as paraprofessionals, whether it may be students who have a reduced schedule and are looking for work, or those who are exploring a degree post-graduation from high school in teaching. So the current job description language, as I'd mentioned before, does not allow for this. So they have been reviewed by the directors, myself, and KASB as we have finalized those revisions to bring to you. We do plan to bring them back to the January 25th board meeting for your approval. Are there any questions?
All right. I don't see any, Becky.
All right.
Thank you. We'll see you at next meeting for approval under action.
Sounds great.
All right. So moving on to action tonight, we've got 2 items. The first, 9A, is Memorandum of Understanding Revision COVID-related leave. And Becky, you are up again.
All right. So the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, what we've been referring to as FFCRA, was enacted on April 1st in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It does require that certain employees provide emergency paid sick leave and expanded family medical leave for specified reasons related to COVID-19. So those provisions did expire on December 31st and were not extended or replaced with subsequent federal action. So while continuing those practices as outlined comes at an expense to our district, it does come at a cost, but we believe that continuing these practices through July 31st, 2021 is in the best interest of our district students and our staff during this pandemic. So we would ask for your approval that the provisions specified in the FFCRA be extended for the employees of USD 260 at the district's expense. We would ask that this be retroactive to January 1st, 2021 through July 31st, 2021, or until replaced by subsequent federal action, whichever comes first. So as Joel had mentioned before, we've been working on this and collaborating with other districts and with the Department of Labor and with KASB and talking about options, feeling like this could possibly expire on December 31st. But we were waiting to see what the Department of Labor would do at their recommendation. They said, kind of sit tight, be ready for whatever you might want to do, but see what happens. So we did wait to see what was happening. And that's why we asked that it be retroactive back to January 1st. And as Joel had mentioned before, this action would be incorporated into the existing Memorandum of Understanding. There was language in there that we could reopen it and revise as needed. So we did revise just that item number 12, adding in section A, which just mentions that we would continue those provisions as outlined with the same eligibility criteria that's outlined, and then a note to contact Human Resources with any questions regarding it. So those are the revisions to the MOU. As Joel mentioned, it had been voted on by the bargaining unit with a really high rate of approval. So we would ask again tonight the urgency with this, bringing it with action to go ahead and get this in place in an effort to support our staff.
So I would move to approve.
I have a question. Do we have any idea how much this might cost?
Yes, so in the memo there, for the first, from July 1st to 2020 through December 31st, 2020, the total cost to the district attributed to these leave provisions was approximately $205,000. It is difficult to predict anything with COVID, but that kind of gives you a picture of how much it costs during that time frame. We do plan to reimburse these funds and cover these funds with CARES Act money. So that is the district's plan. Great question. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second to approve this. Is there any other discussion? Matthew, did you have a comment or question?
No, I thought you were getting ready to call a vote. Sorry. I got my hand down as quickly.
Okay, gotcha. Yep, so we got a first from Matthew and a second from Robin. And so let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of approving as requested, please raise your hand. All right, looks like that's everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, looks like next up under action is 9B, which is transportation building asbestos remediation bid acceptance. Burke Jones.
Right, I'm Burke Jones, Director of Operations. On January 4th, we received bids for the asbestos remediation at the transportation building. Essentially, this is all of the exterior wall insulation in the building. So it's a significant project because they have to remove all of the metal wall panels to remove it. We received 2 bid submissions. One of them was a no bid submission. So we ended up with 1 bid that had dollars attached to it, which was $208,243. We are planning, well, when the board approved the guaranteed maximum price for the transportation project with bond funds, we had allocated $125,000 at that time for the remediation project, knowing that it would take more than that to do it. So the remaining $83,243 will be covered from the asbestos remediation line item in the capital outlay plan. So I would recommend for approval that the ISI environmental bid proposal be accepted and we award them the project. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
I'll move to
Is there any
approve.
questions? Okay. I will second that. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. All right. Looks like yeah, that's everybody. Thank you. All right. So next up is item 10, which is executive session. And so I'm going to move that the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing matters related to personnel matters for non-elected personnel to protect the privacy of an identifiable individual for 45 minutes following a 5-minute break. The executive session will include all the board members present and Heather Bohati. The open meeting will resume virtually in the Zoom meeting room at
8:55.
8:55. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
All right. All those in favor? Okay, 7-0. We will go to executive session. Thanks.
Man, did we all make it? What the heck? It never happens.
All right. I think at least we've got a majority here to make a motion here.
No, we all made it, man.
What's that?
I think we all made it.
We all made it. Okay. So at this point, I would make a motion to extend the executive session for 20 minutes. The open meeting would resume in the Zoom meeting at, is that 9:15, 9:16?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Go with 9:16. All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. We will go back to executive session. All right. At this point, I will make a motion to extend the executive session 15 or 20 minutes. What?
We may go 20 just to be
20, okay. Let's extend for 20 minutes. And the meeting would resume on our Zoom call. I guess that would be 9:36. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, we will go back to executive session. Thanks. All right. At this point, I would make a motion that we adjourn our meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, we're adjourned. Have
All
a
right.
great evening. See
Night.
you all.
Take it
Bye-bye.
easy.
Night, everyone.